Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is the Our Turf Football Podcast. I'm your host, Dana O'Gorman. Joining me is Kate R. Cleveland Kate to the rest of you out there. It's just the two of us ladies tonight. In the off season, we're kind of all taking turns. We're bringing in guests and giving each other a little bit of a break. But this show I've been waiting to do. And I wanted to do this show after free agency had calmed down. Like I really felt like we needed to get through that initial free agency before we did our cap show. Kate, I don't know about you. The NFL cap. I have some beliefs, and I warned our guests. We have our very good friend Miguel Benzan is going to join us here in just a second, but I warned him. I don't think the cap is real. I don't think that it actually brings any parity to the NFL, and this year proved it, in my opinion. But I'm told I'm wrong on a regular basis.
What was her line? The cap is only a thing if you don't want to sign a player. And that's the excuse you use for why you can't sign that player.
I'm so sorry. We just don't have room in the cap.
We don't have cap room.
BS. It's BS. All of it is. I'm telling you right now. Well, here's the thing. We're going to talk about a lot about the cap today. We're going to talk about the cap basics, what counts, what doesn't count, good reasons to push the money down the line a little bit, teams who believe more in the draft, the different. We're going to cover it all, and we are so excited because our friend Miguel has been a friend of our podcast, of our writing for years. I think we had him on the podcast when we were doing Blog Talk Radio like 8 years ago. It was so long ago. So let me go ahead, bring him in now. Our very good friend, Miguel. Miguel, how are you?
I'm doing great. I was telling Dana I haven't done this much homework in a long time.
It was supposed to be an easy show for him. I thought it would be easy.
But you said in a DM, you didn't believe the cap was real. It's like, oh my gosh. So I was telling him, oh my gosh. I literally mute people who tweet at me the cap is fake. Or the cap is whatever. That rhymes. There's a word that rhymes with that. I won't say it out loud. Okay. I literally mute people. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta really prove it to her.
No.
I gotta do some research and convince her that she's wrong.
I know that the framework of the cap is real. I just am a big believer that you can get out of any of it in a loophole. So let's start at the very beginning.
Okay.
For everyone. So there is an NFL cap. Every team has to be under the cap by certain dates throughout the season. It starts over, right as free agency begins in the middle of March. But they got a little time to wiggle and get around it and all of this. So basic contract, Miguel.
Yes.
What counts towards the cap and what does not count towards the cap? Because we hear all kinds of like little qualifiers when we talk about these contracts.
Okay. When we're looking at a player's salary, all right, this is what counts against the cap. Their salary. All right. Any offseason workout bonus they get. All right, so Andrew Brandt in the Green Bay, to get their players to show up in the OTAs, he has to offer them $500,000, $200,000 to show up during the season, right? Like some of those guys get big money to work out. Like several Patriots are getting over $200,000 to work out. All right. Mm-hmm. Any LTB incentive, and what I mean by LTB is likely to be earned incentive. All right. Okay. And that's based on what the player did last year. So if a quarterback threw 30 touchdowns last year and he has an incentive for 29 touchdowns, that would be considered likely to be earned. If he has it for 31, it'd be not likely to be earned. Okay. All right. For any weight bonuses, for my man Trent Brown, who's on the Patriots, he gets paid to be underneath a certain amount of weight.
Right.
All right. And because that's incentive is under his control, that's considered likely to be earned. So that automatically counts against the cap.
Okay.
Right? If you have the team says, if you're on our roster on April 1st, we will pay you $500,000.
Okay.
That counts against the cap.
Okay.
Okay. If
so
you have
someone, I thought it did. Okay. Interesting.
Okay. So then there's also another thing where if you're active for a game, Some teams, the 49ers, the Patriots, the Packers. Once again, Andrew Brandt was the one who started that. All right. So if you're active for a game, you get paid like $10,000 a game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If you were active for 10 games last year, 10 out of 17 would be considered likely to be earned. If you become active for the 11th game during the 2022 season, that incentive will hit against the cap immediately. That's the only incentive that hits against the cap that year.
Okay.
All other not likely to be earned incentives account against the cap in the following year. All right.
Okay.
And then this is the big thing: any signing bonus proration. All right. So players get a signing bonus, and this is why people think the cap is fake. All right, it's because she's raising the hand. All right, if you get a $10 million signing bonus and you sign a 5-year deal, all right, you get $2 million of that counts against the cap each year for the next 5 years. All right, so what the Saints was doing.
Oh, right? The Saints. We have to have a whole conversation about the Saints. Yes, go ahead, finish your thought.
Okay, so what the Saints were doing, they were going up to their players and they're saying, hey, player A, you have a $10 million salary. All right. And the Saints have in their clause, in their contracts, the right to automatically convert any salary or any roster bonus into a signing bonus. They don't even have to get the player's permission. Okay. They don't have to get that player's permission. So then they have the right to do it. And then they convert X amount, whatever amount into a signing bonus. So you have a $9 million salary, you convert $6 million into a signing bonus. The player has 3 years, 2 more years left in the deal. $6 million divided by 3 is $2 million. And you just created $4 million of cap space this year while pushing out increasing his cap number by $2 million each year. All right.
The player still gets his money, right? He still gets his money now.
Okay. So
we call it something different. It affects the cap. So the player doesn't care. He's still getting his $6 million.
He's getting his $6 million this year. He's not. And I'll say this. Back in the day, I started covering the salary cap in the early 2000s. All right. Now, for some reason, the owners have convinced these players, let's put this automatic conversion into give me the right to convert your salary into signing bonus. And by the way, you're not going to get the money right away. I'll pay you when you get your salary in September. Okay, because now, I'll pay that $6 million at the same time you're getting your salary. Because now in the new 2020 CBA, these players get paid starting in September 36 weeks. So that $6 million signing bonus is that same amount of money. It's just getting accounted differently on the cap. Most of these players are not getting the money any upfront earlier. They used to do back in the day. Mm-hmm. And I checked with Nick Underhill, who writes about the New Orleans Saints. He verified that the Saints don't do that. They used to pay the money up front.
Yeah.
Now it's because they kept on doing it. You know, they decided, well, I'll just pay this player 36 in the signing bonus over 36 weeks installments.
Yeah, because that's why it was called a signing bonus, right? When you signed your contract, it's when you got that money, and then your salary didn't kick in until the season.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But this when you do this automatic conversion, you are basically agreeing to get paid that signing bonus the same way you get paid the salary. All right. Most of the time, if you do like the Saints, if the Saints were adding voided years, the player has to agree to that. All right. But if you have that clause in that, the player doesn't have to agree to it. In fact, he has to sign an amended contract or be in violation of his first contract within several days.
It's lawyers. It's lawyers.
Accountants, right? Accountants and taxmen and
right.
Yeah, so it is.
We have our good friend John, who always likes to come and listen to our show, and he said the NFL contract gurus would be great at money laundering. I think they already are. But
oh my gosh! The true story. They cheated. They tried to cheat the players out of money a couple of years ago.
Right.
And
it's so true. It's so true. So here's the thing. So when you start to break down what counts against contract, or the cap, what doesn't, it can be spread out over multiple years.
Yes.
So then that's where the term dead cap comes from, or dead money. Dead money comes from, right? Is because if they get rid of that player early, then they still have that that dead cap. Is that correct? Is that where
right?
that comes from?
We call it dead money.
Okay, dead money. Yes, dead
signing
money.
bonus
I keep saying
proration.
dead cap. I don't know why. That's weird. Okay, sorry.
It is what it is. All right. No one's perfect. All right. So dead money is referred to players, the amount of cap space allocated to players who are no longer active on your roster. Like for example, at roster cut downs, you'll cut some 20, 25 players. All right.
Mhm.
You might sign them to the practice squad. All right. So he would show up on that ledger as having dead money, but also being on the practice squad. So sometimes the player will show up twice on a team's ledger. So I always say it's the active contract.
Active contract. Okay, that's a good way to look at it. Because you talk about that. It was one thing where example, and John will love that I bring this up, but Russell Wilson, Seattle has a lot of dead, that's dead money from him.
Yep.
That because they cut, and that's why so many of us thought he wouldn't be traded, because it was going to be such a hit to them at that point, but they decided to do it anyway. Then that drops off pretty quickly after that. Is that correct?
If you cut a player before or trade a player before June 2nd,
right,
all of his unamortized signing bonus proration hits that year's cap.
That's
so
right.
June 2nd becomes a big date.
Yes.
Because you cut or trade a player after that, if he signed for the future, his unamortized future signing bonus hits the cap in 2023. So that's why June 2nd is a big deal.
Okay.
Can you do offset language in their contract related to the cap hits for the amortization part that you put out? You can't do anything with that?
Offsets comes for guaranteed salary.
Okay.
All right.
So if you cut a player, then he hits dead money this year, and for example, the Patriots cut Cam Newton last year, then he signs with the Panthers, and the Patriots got a credit on this year's cap because of that. Okay.
So it does come back. It can
come back. Okay. Guaranteed salary can come back as an offset. Most teams are only going to sign that player to a very minimum deal. So if you have $10 million in guaranteed salary, you're not going to get another $10 million from another team. They'll probably just sign you to the veteran minimum.
Gotcha. All right. You're slowly convincing me it might be true. Okay, so here's
if I do this at the end of this, it's going to be the best appearance ever.
So my Brown situation with Baker Mayfield.
God bless
He's
you.
owed 18.5 this year.
Yep.
That's a cap hit. It's all salary.
God bless you.
If they trade him and someone else takes over his salary, do they get the cap hit?
They get the cap hit.
If they just cut him and someone else signs him, do the Browns still have that cap hit?
Yes, because the new team is not signing him for any more than $1 million. They'll sign. Right. They might sign him to a 2-year deal, and have most of the money come in 2023. They're not doing the Browns that much of a favor.
Yeah. Well, that was his agent getting his rookie contract backloaded like that, and made him almost untradeable.
Yeah.
He had no choice. The 5th-year option was he had no agents. You can't blame the agent for that. That's it.
Right.
That's how it is.
It's just how it is. But we need to talk about the Saints, because we looked at the Saints and we looked at what their cap situation was, and we looked at how underwater Marshawn Lynch alone is a $40 million cap hit. I can't figure out how they're no longer underwater.
Because they kept
amortizing those players. I didn't think there were enough people on the roster to get them back 75 million, back below.
Seriously, Miguel, we're like, they're gonna have to cut the whole team.
They basically pushed out money with close to 10 players. They had 2 players, one of them being Malcolm Jenkins, and I forget the other person's name, to agree to a pay cut.
Cam Jordan, maybe.
So Malcolm Jenkins, he knew he was retiring, so he pushed out the money and he said, "I'll take a pay cut because I'm not playing anymore."
Yeah.
So that saved the Saints cap space. And then some other player agreed, and I forget. I'm sorry if you're a Saints fan and you listen to this. I don't remember the other player's name. All right. He also agreed to a pay cut. So I sent you a screenshot.
Which one?
Of the Saints, and this is why the downside of pushing out money.
Okay, is it Matt Judon? Is that the one you sent me?
No. There's I just sent you the last one. Oh, I just sent it like maybe a couple minutes before the show started.
Okay, all right. Well,
I feel like this is a whole lot of "I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today."
Okay, so let's bring up the Matthew Judon one.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So here's the Matthew Judon one, right? So if he's on the Patriots, and this is the top two is his current deal. Okay. If they converted most of his 2022 salary into a signing bonus, you could see and I'm pointing at the thing like you guys can see me. All right.
You can see it though.
Okay. You could see the difference in his cap hits, and then you can see the difference how it affects his future dead money.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh wow.
So yeah, so look at this on this the dead money in for 2023. If they could cut him next year and have a $9 million dead money, all right?
Mm-hmm.
But if they were to convert most of his salary into signing bonus this year, that dead money goes to $15.6 million.
Yep.
You're not getting anything for free, folks.
Right.
Not in the NFL. Not right. In the NFL. There's consequences. So like when people like Dana says the cap is fake or isn't real, I say to them, there's a trade-off.
Yeah.
Like you push out money into the future, you're willing to put up or have a trade-off, having that player having a higher cap number or future dead money. All right. You have to make a tough choice. Mm-hmm. The Saints chose to push all this money out in the future.
Here, right? I found the Saints one, so let me bring that one up now.
Okay, so because of that, Saints pushed out in the future. All right, they have several guys next year who, with those cap hits, I'm going to ask anyone: do you think that Cameron Jordan is going to be the 7th best defensive end or edge rusher next year? Michael Thomas is going to be the 3rd best wide receiver.
Right.
Andres Pete, the 2nd best guard. Alvin Kamara, the 4th best. Taysom Hill, good God bless you. Taysom Hill.
Listen, we are done with the Taysom Hill experiment, and I need to apologize. I know I said Marshawn Lynch earlier. I meant Marshawn Lattimore.
I know you did. I knew. We knew what you meant, honey. We knew.
Fair enough. Who cares? But
I have too many Marshawns in my life right now.
He's going to have, as of now, he has the 5th highest cap number of any tight end. That's insane.
Yeah.
So for them to, that's for me. These numbers are bad value.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and you can say the cap is going to go up, and we know the cap will go up next year. It doesn't change the fact that these numbers are still bad value. It doesn't. Those are still bad value. You can't say that only Taysom Hill's family will believe that he'll be the 5th best tight end next year.
His family might not even buy it, to be quite honest with you. John just did bring up that question, though. He said, but if you push it out, will the cap, will be raised so it can absorb it? But I think the point that you're making is it doesn't matter. You're still overpaying that player.
Overpaying that player. And if you cut that player, all right, he's now dead money.
Right.
Okay. It makes it harder to trade that player. All right. That's what I'm saying. And I'll say this: dead money doesn't catch a ball. Dead money doesn't throw a ball. Dead money doesn't rush for anything. Dead money does. So they don't make plays on the field. Cap is the tool to get you acquire talent. When you have a lot of dead money, you just shrunk the number of tools you have to acquire talent.
Gotcha.
All right. So this is why, like OBJ, most teams last year at the end of the year could have gotten, if we weren't had a shrunken cap last year, teams would have made a trade for the Browns to get him. But teams couldn't afford to do so because very few teams at the end of the 2021 season had the cap space for him. All right. So that's why he and the Browns worked out that deal. Then he becomes a free agent. All right. And then he signs for the very minimum. If I was the Packers, right, they should have claimed him on waivers because they knew that they probably didn't have they didn't have the cap space. There were teams who didn't have the cap space for it. So when these people say the cap isn't fake, let's just think. If your favorite team couldn't have claimed OBJ because of the cap, then the cap is real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because the cap becomes really, I say it's a soft cap. It becomes a hard cap once the season starts because of the termination pay benefit.
Right.
Because folks, what I mean by the termination pay benefit, if you're a veteran with 4 accrued seasons on their week 1 roster, your salary becomes fully guaranteed. So they cut you week 2. Your salary still counts against the cap. You might decide in February after the season, I might not take advantage of that benefit, but then the team will get a credit on the 2023 cap. But on 2022, if you get cut at week 2, your salary counts against the cap. That's what becomes a hard cap, and that's why like OBJ had to do that thing with the Browns because no one could claim him.
So that is true. There does seem to be a lot more flexibility, for lack of a better word, during the off season.
Oh, much more.
So much more. But once the season starts, it kind of gets locked in at that point.
You can't. And remember, you can't touch a rookie's deal. Rookie's deal for the first 3 years of the deal. So if you have a lot of rookies, you can't go to them and ask them to extend the deal or change the deal. So if you got a lot of veterans who are termination pay, who's gonna, and then who in there? No agent is gonna have their client agree to a pay cut during the season.
Right.
You're doing that's malpractice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So there seems to be a couple of different schools of thought that are going around in the NFL right now. There's the school of thought of you spend and spend and spend every dime till you're down to absolutely nickels, and you buy kind of what we call them the Yankees of football. So you go and play like the Rams and you buy everybody, right?
Okay, except that's not what the Rams do.
Well, I'm getting to my point. Hold on one second. And then you have teams that build through the draft and they spend less during the free agency. My question is, it worked for the Rams, and I get that. And they won a Super Bowl and they spent a lot of money. But it seems like every year then teams who do that, and this is my question, have to be constantly refiguring this. They don't, like, players who go to them are there for a year, like Von Miller's there for a year, OBJ's there for a year. You have that kind of constant turnover because you're constantly having to rematch the cap. Is that kind of the new school of thought when it comes to managing the cap?
It'd be difficult for another team to do what the Rams have been doing.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because Jordan, I hope I pronounce the lady who covers the Rams for the Athletic.
Rodriguez. Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to. Her first name is Jordan. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. So I'm not. Right. Okay. She wrote a piece in February about what the Rams do.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Sean McVay and the Snead. Last name is Snead. The GM,
Willie.
Okay.
That was Les. Isn't it Les Snead?
I think Willie Snead was a football player.
Oh yeah. Wrong Snead.
Les
Snead Brown.
right.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So Snead and McVay came together and said, McVay says, this is the players I want. Mm-hmm. So that makes it and he had specifics. So Snead and his draft team know exactly what they're looking for in the draft. They're looking for specific type of players.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I sent, so that makes it relatively easy for them to focus on their draft.
Okay.
Right. The Rams also, talking about, they structure the deals. They're one of the few teams that don't have, no, I shouldn't say few because I don't really keep track. They don't have active roster bonuses in their deals. Right.
Okay.
They don't typically. So they don't have to worry like the Patriots about having a cushion to have that. Okay. Because they typically don't have that in those deals. The Rams have been for the past several years, been one of the healthiest teams in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So they put very few people on IR. All right. So if starting off in the season that you're putting like 4 or 5 players on IR, all right, you could, your strategy, your tactics to managing your roster is going to be different than someone who another team who's always putting players on the IR. Like the Patriots, my team, they typically put end the season with 10 to 15 players on IR.
Oh, sure.
And the seasons like in 2014, they won the Super Bowl. Not a coincidence. They had 4 or 5, 6 players on IR.
We don't talk about that Super Bowl. Just saying.
Sorry.
Yeah, we call that Super Bowl Bruno.
Sorry.
That was Super Bowl Bruno. We don't talk about that.
Okay.
I'm teasing.
2018,
There you go.
they won the Super Bowl. They were very healthy. Not a 2015, they could at the end they had so many players on IR. They were lucky to make it to they lost in the AFC Championship game. All right. You just for the Patriots to have any kind of success for me, I've learned they gotta be healthy. Right? They gotta be relatively healthy at the key positions. The Rams, no, they have an advantage. They hardly have their players get hurt. I know some people, okay, but Robert Woods. Okay. I'm not saying everything's perfect. I'm saying for the most part, they have their players stay healthy. All right. The Rams, and I sent you that screenshot of what they do. They are willing to let players go.
Is that the comp pick one?
Huh?
The one about the comp picks? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, folks, you'll see there, last 4 years, they have received a third-round compensatory pick. Since Les Snead started as a GM, they've received 17 comp picks. I'm not including the comp picks you get for having a minority hire. So I'm not including those numbers in there. All right. So this is the third highest total in the NFL. I haven't had the time. I really don't want to spend that much time on this, but I'm willing to bet that the 5 third-round picks for comp picks since 2019 is near the top.
Yeah.
So if you're getting this many comp picks, that's an indication that you're willing to let players go. And that's what they do. They traded Jared Goff. They got rid of Todd Gurley. They let Von Miller go. They traded Robert Woods. They extended Matthew Stafford. People remember, oh my God, they signed Bobby Wagner. But somehow they forget 2 days before they traded Robert Woods who created the cap space. Or a couple days before that, they extended Matthew Stafford. And people somehow forget the moves that create cap space, but they remember the moves, big signing, because what the NFL has done is made it a business to announce free agent signings. They're not announcing that Von Miller left the Rams. They're announcing Von Miller's signed with the Bills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when they extend, they talk about the $40 million extension, the extension of Matthew Stafford. They never really highly say this created how much cap space it created for the Rams. Okay, that's a couple days later, and we might, you know what I'm saying? But that's
the stats guys come out with that. You start to see that you don't see that from Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter. You get contract stuff every once in a while, but you don't get yes, it cost the Bills this much to get Von Miller, but this is what the Rams got in return. You know what I mean? So
yeah, the beat writers do a lousy job of adding context to signings.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And no beat writer has ever said, hey, the Rams have, like, they kept on saying they went on all in last year. All right. I said that cannot possibly be true. They have so much dead money.
No, it's true. It has to be true because it's the only logical explanation for Matt Stafford for the Super Bowl. Anyway, sorry.
They also don't have a first and second round draft pick this year. Like, is that model sustainable? What is the dollar value that they've placed on a Super Bowl win? That means that they now have no first and second round draft picks this year. They've got half the people they signed are already gone. So I don't see them repeating unless they pick up new pieces, but I don't know that they have the salary cap to do that.
Yeah.
They got to do what they do. I mean, is hit on the draft. They're going to they move around at the bottom of the draft. They get a lot of draft picks. All right. They had to do that. Last year, they won the Super Bowl, in my opinion, because the guys with big cap hits played well in the Super Bowl. I'm talking Aaron Donald, Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Those guys balled out during the Super Bowl. All right. They win. If they continue to have those 3 guys continue to play above their value, they'll be all right.
Which to me is the biggest difference right now between the Rams and the Saints, because the Saints are paying that kind of money to people who are not performing.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
And once again, that comes back to that value that you put on that. Yeah. Paying a player who's maybe in the middle teens, ranking wise, fourth player money. That makes total sense to me. So in your opinion, okay, I told you that the last question I was going to ask you is that the cap isn't really needed to convince me otherwise, but I'm starting to understand it a little bit. And I think that is part of the problem. Okay. It is so confusing and it has so many loopholes that people instantly get livid. And then they are like, well, why do they get to spend all that money? We don't get to spend all that money. We have the money. It says right here that we have $40 million in cap space. Why don't we get to spend the money? A, they forget that players get to pick where they want to go. That happens,
Exactly.
And B, that some teams are more conservative for years down, players down the line. DK Metcalf is going to have to get paid. Seattle's not going to trade him. And so, and he'll have to get paid. They have to save that money for next year. There are players that are look at all these rookie quarterbacks. Herbert's going to have to get paid.
Yep.
Burrows is going to have to get paid. All of these guys. And as we talked a couple of shows ago, Deshaun Watson just screwed everybody with that. And so,
oh my gosh. Don't get me.
I know.
Oh,
it's true.
God bless.
It's true.
How does he get a fully guaranteed contract?
$90 million more than Pat Mahomes, guaranteed to a man who hasn't taken a snap since January 3rd, 2021.
Miguel, 2 or 3 shows ago, 45 minutes of a rant about this.
Just the football side of it. Before I even got to the character personal side, I have huge problems with the football side of what the Browns have done this offseason.
Yeah. And so
I'm going to have Jacoby Brissett under center for 6 to 8 to 17 weeks.
And it cracks me up. People keep on thinking, the Browns are going to the playoffs. You don't know how many games he's going to get suspended for.
I'm betting you it might be the entire season because his contract guarantees him $1 million for the first year, whether he plays or not. Which makes me think they're prepping for him sitting out a year.
A lot of people sign for the very minimum salary the first year of the contract.
Right.
I'll say, so it's not that. It's that the fact that they put in this clause that in his contract, if he gets suspended, they can't go after a signing bonus. That's the clause that drives me crazy.
Yeah. But here's my question, and maybe this is a cap issue. What I could not figure out last season was why the Texans didn't activate him and just let him get a suspension from Goodell and get it over with. And get that liability off the table to make the trade bait easier if they were going to get rid of him.
He was only making $10 million salary.
Yeah.
So that's for them was nothing.
So I don't understand because they never activated him. And I was told it was because then he would be subjected to whatever punishment the NFL wanted to do. And I'm like, then get it out of the way if you're not going to play him anyway.
No, he was active for the games. They just wasn't paying him. They wasn't playing him, not paying him.
He was activated. Yeah,
big difference. He didn't take a snap.
No,
there was something. He was still getting some reason he couldn't. They wouldn't let him take a snap. I just thought the whole thing was
just. It's beyond me.
Yeah,
Jacoby Brissett.
If you ever saw me, listen to me on a podcast, you've heard me talk about Antonio Brown.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, so
Fruit Loops. My favorite cereal.
Okay. I got the same feeling with Deshaun Watson that I have for Antonio Brown.
Yep.
I'm just gonna talk about the cap. I'm gonna leave the character stuff out of the way.
Right. Yep. So true. We're with you.
Like I said, you fit right 45 minutes on the football business side of that whole thing.
If I was a Browns fan, I'd be going crazy because now all this time before in the past, when the Browns had let players go, all right, and they ever used the excuse they didn't have the cap or the cash, that was all now it's all BS because the Haslams just put in escrow $200 million for Watson.
God. And
I will say with the way the oil market has been, diesel margins were huge for the Pilot Flying J truck stop in March. They made a boatload of money, so maybe he needed to spend it. I don't know. What I try to tell people is best case scenario, Deshaun Watson's a Pro Bowler. He's everything you thought he'd be. He's everything you thought he would be coming out of college. We don't have any money left to sign somebody to catch the ball.
Right.
So we are now going to have to target wide receivers in the draft because of the amount of money they gave him is going to make it harder for them to get any kind of veteran proven free agents.
He's going to be cap-wise, you could push out the money with him because
So that just seems like it's such a bad idea
because quarterbacks and offensive linemen have long careers. So those are
they do, but he's also playing in Cleveland, where I think the Cavaliers are still paying Danny Ferry on the contract thing that they did for him 20 years ago. We have long memories in this town. We don't like these deals where we're still paying head coaches that we fired years ago.
Oh my gosh.
They're still getting checks from the Browns.
Yeah, they oh my gosh, I know. That's crazy.
So let's do this. Let's
talk about the Browns.
Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, you get Kate started. No, I'm just kidding. Here's the thing. Here's my question for you, Miguel, and we'll kind of start to wrap this up. But my question to you is, when you look at the league and you look at teams that all do things a little differently, which we've been talking about, what is your favorite type of cap management? Do you like more of a younger team, live off the rookie contracts, build there with one or two, high paid free agents? Are you more into like the Rams super team idea? Like how do you, after studying this for so long, what do you think is kind of the best way to run with that?
Depends on how old your quarterback is. You got it.
That is so true. Yeah.
I wish Lisa was here because Lisa would be like, Lisa thinks the only thing that matters is the quarterback. I think the only thing that matters is the kicker.
Comments.
So we argue a lot.
She's in our chat. She'll say something.
Okay,
of course
it is really depends on if you have it as the quarterback, you manage the cap differently if you don't have it.
Okay.
If you have a young, great quarterback, you managing the cap different than you have a younger, older quarterback, right?
So the Bengals are going to manage their cap very differently than the Packers.
Yes, sure. The Bengals are going to talking about cap. They're going to have to change the structure of the deals because there's no chance that Joe Burrow's agent is going to allow him to sign a deal that's not guaranteed for multiple years. Not after Watson has a fully guaranteed deal. All right. So either the Bengals going to be able to say, well, we'll just put you on the franchise tag and play, and then good luck, but they could do that for a couple of years. All right. But then you can't use the franchise tag. Your ability to use franchise tag, you can only use it a couple of times. After that, he then becomes a free agent.
Yeah, but you can't have your quarterback be unhappy like that. Those quarterbacks are almost as bad as wide receivers. They're divas. You franchise tag him twice. And good luck with him in the locker room.
Good. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying they're gonna have to change their structure of the deals, and that's why I go back when I hear the structure of the deals is important. That's why, like for example, when a fan tells me, that's why I mute people. If you tell me the cap is crap, I'm saying you're telling me you're allowing the media not to do their job. And so they don't have if the media starts believing the cap is crap, they don't have to pay attention to the structure of the deals. They don't have to know the rules of the CBA. All right. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you. It took me about 4 or 5 years of correcting Boston Patriots beat writers about if you want to play a franchise tag, it counts against the cap right away. It doesn't matter if he signed it or not. It took me 4 or 5 years before we get them to stop saying that. It took me 8 years to get them to get the rookie pool numbers right. It is still the beat writers who don't know that.
Okay.
And there's still beat writers who don't know how the franchise tag number is calculated, even though it was changed in the 2011 CBA. Okay, they're thinking about from when in the older CBA. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I'm saying? I was like, this is your job.
Miguel is now he's the cap police. He's gonna
it drives
cap Nazi. Is that like a grammar Nazi? I'm gonna tell you the most important thing I learned tonight.
If you're a grammar Nazi or spelling Nazi on Twitter, don't come at me, please. Please. I typo all the time. Please.
It's okay.
It's communication.
I don't know why you can't edit. That frustrates me that I can't go in and edit when I spell something wrong. But I think what the most important thing I learned tonight is I need to pay more attention to the people who are getting released and traded, because those are the teams that are freeing up cap space. Because as you said with the Rams, they would let somebody go, and then 2-3 days later is this huge signing. And I'm like, and that's how people are predicting which teams are going to make some of these big signings, because they're looking to see who just offloaded and made room to do the bigger deal.
Like, for example, the Patriots just traded for Devontae Parker. I know that the Patriots could not have taken on his current salary because they would put him over the cap. All right. Yet the beat writers, you would think the beat writers would try to be finding out how the Patriots would create the cap space to take on the Parker. No, but we got articles we got about how Devontae Parker is going to fit financially in the future. You don't even know what his real cap number is right now, but you're talking about what his impact on the cap is. We don't know that cap number that he actually had when the Dolphins came over to the Patriots, and yet you're writing articles about it.
Right.
Find out what it is and then talk about it.
Yeah. So Miguel, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm a pseudo believer now. I'm getting there.
Okay, so then I'm going to give you some homework.
Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, Joe Banner wrote an article today.
Okay.
On the 33rd team, is the salary cap real?
Really?
Yes. I could not believe it. It was perfect timing for us.
It is perfect timing for us. Okay, I'm going right now. Is it posted on Twitter?
It will be, because I'll retweet it after this.
Yes.
I didn't want to spoil this show by tweeting it before that.
Fair enough. I appreciate it. Well, listen, everyone, I want to make sure that you guys follow Miguel. He focuses on the Patriots cap, but what I learn about cap in general from you is so helpful. And I can't even tell you guys, our listeners, how many times I've sent him a DM and it's like, okay, explain this to me. Like, I'm a kindergartner, talk me through this. And he always does. And I appreciate that, Miguel, so much. You're so good at what you do. And we need people like you. People like me need people like you. So we can understand that.
It is.
Dana's not going to like that article, Miguel.
It'll be fine.
The first sentence says any team can fit in anybody they want if the player is important enough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is the opposite of. If I don't want you, I'm going to use the cap as my excuse to not get you.
Or I'm going to use cash as an excuse. That's all a lie, folks. These guys get more money from the TV deals than the cap.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, they do.
Do not believe them. I don't know why people side with the billionaires than the millionaires, but it is when they tell you if the team wants a player, they will find a way to sign them. Okay? That is especially during the off season. In February, March, that is true. All right. If they want a player, they'll find a way to make it happen. All right.
They didn't want to make it happen.
They didn't want to make it happen.
No.
It's something. And for folks, and when a player's a free agent, if they made money, he can sign he signs anywhere he wants.
Right.
Like OBJ, he wanted to probably go to LA. If you made a ton of money, you can go anywhere you want. You could play for your favorite team when you was like a little boy, or you could play because you want to play near your family. Any reason. If you made a ton of money after the second contract, I always said the second contract, get the money. Third contract, do what you want.
Go where you want. Yep.
Go where you want.
All of us at Our Turf are big fans of go get your money player. We are never going to side.
It's not the player's job to manage the cap.
No,
it's not the player's job.
Get the money, you can get it. I'm all about that. Miguel, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it so much. Everyone, you can follow him on Twitter. It's @PatsCap, and it's Miguel Benzan. Miguel, thank you so much.
All right, take care. God bless, and good luck with the Browns.
Thank you.
You're gonna need it. Bye-bye. Oh my God, I love it so much. So fun. He is just a fountain of knowledge, and I love it so much. And
he is so super helpful. And I know we can DM him because we know him, but even if you just ask him a question on Twitter, he will respond. He will answer you. He will talk to you like a grown up. He's not ever rude or mean or nasty, and he responds to every question I've seen thrown at him.
Yeah,
that was a legit, reasonable question. He will take the time to answer.
Right. Absolutely. I love it. So please, like I said, his Twitter feed is more specialized on Patriots cap, but what you learn from it is fantastic. All right. So we will be back again next week. We start our draft shows next week, maybe.
Yes.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So we're going to start
divisional draft show.
Draft previews. So exciting.
Where is the draft this year?
Huh?
Where's the draft this year?
Vegas. I'm still waiting to see
it's their makeup draft.
I really want to go. I really, really want to go. Fingers crossed. Everyone, fingers crossed out there so I get credentials for the draft. Okay.
John,
so
that means you.
Thank you. We'll be back here next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, here on YouTube and, of course, always on Twitter. I hope everyone has a great night. Yeah. Good night, everybody.